foundation of microeconomics, that is consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is the demand side model in microeconomics, wherein we ascertain how a market gets its demand. Okay, we consider a very simplistic model wherein we talk about literally the behavior of the consumer with regards to two goods. Okay, so our model basically takes into consideration good X and good Y. We consider only a two good model. Okay, this on the face of it may not seem a very realistic assumption, but it is. If I consider X as, say, potato consumption in your life and Y as everything else, that is all other goods that you consume, right? This is a realistic assumption that I consume either a potato or everything else. And this can easily be put into a two good model. Okay, so in order to understand the behavior of a consumer, we take a very simple two good model. Okay, now how to understand the behavior of a consumer? Okay, there are various aspects that we need to build up in the model. The aspects are as follows. The preference of the consumer will determine how the consumer behaves. The money in the pocket of the consumer will determine how the consumer behaves. Okay, and this preference plus the money income interaction will give us the optimal X and Y that the consumer will be purchasing from the market. Okay, so it's a very simple model that we take into consideration, and we will build it one by one, not at a go. Aram se karenge, so that each of you understand all the aspects clearly, right? So the preference of the consumer, okay, the money that the consumer has in their pocket, and when they interact with each other, then we will come to know about the optimal X and Y consumption of the consumer. Okay, very logical, right? In case any of you have any doubts in any point of time, you can put it in the chat box. I'll take a look at the chat, and maybe I will be asking you to unmute yourself to explain what is your issue. Okay, great. So consumer behavior basic, a two good model. Okay, in order to determine the optimal consumption of X and Y, two foundation pillars, that is the preference of the consumer and the money income that the consumer has in his or her pocket. Okay, so the first aspect that we will build, or the first pillar that we want to build in order to build the entire model of consumer behavior, is the pillar of money, or the pillar of affordability for the consumer, which is also commonly known as build up the concept of budget line or budget set. This is the pillar that we want to build up for you. Okay, now what is the meaning of a budget line or a budget set? This defines affordability in the model. Okay, I take into account capital M denoting money income, take into account capital PX denoting price of good X, take into account PY as the price of Y. Once we have defined these symbols or these alphabets, we are very logically able to build something called a budget set. The entire money income that the consumer has to be greater than equal to the expenditure that the consumer is doing out there in the market. Isn't this very logical? If it is logical, put L in the chat box. जितना पैसा मेरे पास है, can I spend more money as expenditure out there in the market? Answer is no, right? If it is logical, type L in the chat box. L, simple L, logical L. Okay, there is no question of a loan, there is no question of lending and then getting the money back in the next model. Okay, there is no year 1, year 2, year 3. Okay, we are talking about a single point of time. In this point of time, the money income is M and the expenditure is XPX plus YPY. Okay, there is no question of money being borrowed from somewhere and therefore increasing the affordability. Okay, it's a very simple model. So the money income that the consumer has in their hand, the expenditure cannot exceed that. Simple. And this gives us the budget set of the consumer. Okay, the budget line of the consumer is when the consumer is spending their entire income. So graphing M is equal to XPX plus YPY gives us the budget line. Okay, this is what I can write down mathematically about budget set and budget line. Okay, right? Now, it is important for us to express these in a diagram. Writing it down mathematically in terms of inequalities is good, but putting it on a diagram will make the picture even more clearer. Okay, so in the XY space, let's attempt to draw the budget line and the budget set. So let's take this as X, let's take this as Y. M is equal to XPX plus YPY gives me the budget line. Okay. If I write it down in the intercept format, I can write it as X by M by PX plus Y by M by PY is equal to 1. Class 8, when we did equation of a line, this is what we used to call the intercept form, or sometimes also called the slope intercept form. Okay, here in this case, M by Px is my X intercept, M by Py is my Y intercept, and we can draw the budget line very easily. Mark this as M by Px and this as M by Py. Okay. Now, the slope of the budget line, this straight line is the budget line. The slope of the budget line is nothing but finding out the value of dy by dx. Okay. Please understand, money income and the prices Px and Py are constant. They are not changing. If that is not changing, I can differentiate this entire expression. Okay. If I differentiate the budget line, I get 0 is equal to Px dx plus Py dy. Or in other words, dy by dx is minus Px by Py. Okay. So this is the slope of the budget line, minus Px by Py. Right? Okay. So this is my budget line. This is the slope of the budget line. Okay. Clear? Now, what is the budget set? Budget set is basically M greater than equal to XPX plus YPY. The area that this represents is the budget set. So It is all XY combinations. It's all XY combinations that are below the budget line. That is the budget set, right? All XY combinations that are below the budget line gets us the budget set. Okay. So this gives us the affordability of the consumer. What are the XY combinations? What are the XY combinations that are affordable by the consumer given the money income M and the prices PX and PY? All right. Correct. Budget set understandable, budget line understandable if it is crystal clear. Type CC in the chat box. Crystal clear. This is the budget set and the line is the budget line. Slope of the budget line is minus PX by PY. ठीक है? Great. Crystal clear. Awesome. Okay. Now, this was building up the framework in order to get the budget line and the budget set. Okay. Till now, we have only scratched the surface when it comes to budget line. I have simply taken the money income, PX and PY as given and drawn the budget line in the XY space. Now, what happens to the shape of the budget line? What happens to the budget line if, number one, there is a change in income? That is, M changes. So, if I had the budget line M is equal to XPX plus YPY, let M dash be the new money income where M dash is not equal to M. Okay. So what happens to the budget line if this is the case? Okay. Ritvika is asking, could you repeat the slope aspect? Ritvika, each and every class is recorded. So you don't have to worry even if you miss out any part of the class because of a bad connection, you will be able to get back to it. Okay. Because you will get access to the recording straight away. Within 24 hours to 48 hours, all these videos are put on the student portal and you will get access to it. Okay. In the slope aspect, what I did was I took the budget line and I differentiated it entirely. Once I differentiate it, I only have to find out my dy by dx. That's what gives me the slope. All right. Yeah. Now, if this was my budget line with a money income M, as my money income increases, okay, let M dash be greater than M. Please understand the slope of the budget line remains the same and I have a shift in the budget line. This is my X, this is my Y. My budget line with money income M is this. My budget line with money income M dash is this. If I have M double dash less than M, then basically it'll shift inward but parallel. Please understand it is a parallel shift because the slope of each and every budget line is the same at minus px by py. Slope is the same. Okay. So a change in money income simply makes a parallel shift to the budget line. Okay, it's a parallel shift. If my money income increases from say 100 to 200, okay, I will be able to buy more. So okay, a few of you are a little confused. Let's take a numerical example. 100 is equal to x plus y and 200 is equal to x plus y. So if 100 is equal to x plus y, maximum x that I can consume is 100, maximum y that I can consume is 100. So this is what will be the budget line. For 100 is equal to x plus y. For 200 is equal to x plus y, I get a parallel shift where the x value and the y value becomes 200. It's a parallel shift. The slope of both the lines is -1. Okay. Many a time you might get questions where they say that the slope of the budget line is 2 by 3. Don't think that 2 by 3 will mean a positively sloped line. Normally, the slope of the budget line is written in absolute terms. So when they say that the slope of the budget line is 2 by 3, what they mean is -2 by 3. Okay. So don't get confused with the absolute value, that how is it positively sloped. Okay. Okay. So this is what happens if I have a change in money income. Change in price. Change in PX. Okay. M is equal to XPX plus YPY. M is equal to XPX dash plus YPY, where PX dash is greater than PX. M is equal to XPX double dash plus YPY, where PX double dash is less than PX. Okay. Now what will happen in this case is as follows. First, let's take into consideration the original budget line, which I draw in black. Now, if PX reduces to PX double dash, my intercept is changing from M by PX to M by PX double dash. Please note that my y-intercept remains the same at M by PY. It's M by PY, my y-intercept. If X is equal to 0, Y is M by PY. Simple. That's all. X is equal to 0, M by Py is equal to Y. X is equal to 0, M by Py is equal to Y. Okay. Y is equal to 0, X is M by Px. Y is equal to 0, M by Px dash. Y is equal to 0, X is M by Px double dash. Okay. So an increase in price will obviously lead us to a budget line which will have lesser affordability. That is, less XY combinations will now be affordable. If the price of X increases, then this is what is the case. If the price of X decreases, then the budget line shift outward and we get a line which is flatter, and the intercept is now M by Px double dash. Okay. Please understand now the slope of the budget line are different. So the original slope was say minus Px by Py. The new slope is minus Px double dash by Py. And here the slope is minus Px dash by Py. So this is what happens if the slope changes for Px. Similarly, it's a very similar case if Py changes. X, Y, original budget line, PY increases, PY decreases. So this is when PY decreases. This is when PY increases. Obviously, earlier the intercept was M by PY. If my PY is increasing, it's now M by PY dash. And here somewhere the intercept will be M by PY double dash. Right? So if my price of X is changing, the X intercepts will change, Y intercept remains the same. If my PY is changing, then my X intercept is remaining the same and my Y intercepts are changing. Okay, it's a very logical explanation. So this is what happens to the budget line if my price of X, price of Y, money income change. Okay, and as all of you can see, the affordability bundles of X and Y also change as a result. Okay, now what I want you to do as a practice on your own is what happens if the price of X changes for certain quantities. Okay, it will be very, very interesting. I'll put up a question and I want each of you to do